So I'm one of those people who always carries some band-aids with them. In my pocket, I've always got a little bag. I probably have some rubber gloves with me. I keep them in my back left pocket. But I got to thinking, if I was creating my perfect first aid emergency kit, what would I have in it? How big would it be? And if it was something that I had with me in the truck all the time, what are the key things that I would put inside? So I decided to do just that. Here's my emergency first aid kit for me and my family to get me through most of the daily things that can happen. I'm going to go through this kit today, and I'd love to know what are some of the things that you think I've forgotten or you would add for your kit. So let's get started. How's it going, folks? My name's Marcus. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here on this channel, I like to talk about EDC, technology, and anything that can help me live a happier, balanced, more productive life. So today I'm going to be going through this kit. I've got this bag. I can't exactly remember what the name is. I'll have a link in the description to this and any of the kind of major products within this below. So if you want to check out any of that stuff, go down and click on the links. So the thing I like about this bag is it's nice and compact. It's not huge. It is something I can just keep in my truck without it taking up too much space. And for me, it's got everything I need and actually nothing more, which is perfect. So starting off, the first thing I have is this Leatherman. So this is called the Leatherman Raptor. It's obviously made by Leatherman, and it's designed for the emergency response community. It's nice. I like it because it's orange. It's really, really classy. It's really, really strong. I've used it to test. I cut through an old pair of jeans and some t-shirts. It really does do the job well. Now it's got a lot of tools on it. It looks like it's just a scissors, but in addition to being a fabric scissors for cutting through thick stuff, it's also got when you flip it around, it's got a seatbelt cutter. So this here is the seatbelt cutter, which helps you, cut seatbelts or anything rigid like that. It would also cut through a belt, I think, if you were trying to get a pair of pants off. On the bottom of it, it's got a tungsten tip, so that if you're trying to smash through a windscreen, you can go up and hit it with this and it will shatter straight away. And finally, the last tool on it is a ring cutter. So if you've got someone whose ring is stuck, or if you're really stuck, you need to get through some wire, you could push that through there and cut through it. I've not tried that, but apparently it's really effective from looking at other YouTube videos. So that's the main tool that I have on this bag. This isn't going to be a tool bag. This is about first aid kit EDC. So that's the main tool that I'm keeping on top of it. And I want to have it on the outside there so it's easily accessible and I can get to it straight away and then it's fast. So then going into the bag, the pouch just slips open. You can take that off. Let's open it up and have a look at what I have inside this bag. So the thing about this bag is it opens out into 3 sections, which I really like. It kind of lays things out nicely. So I have 2 different areas in this along with some kind of everyday consumables. So my thinking about this bag is I want to have the things that are emergency things, like the tool, immediately accessible. And for me, the biggest emergency thing I have in this bag, and it's right on top. This is a pair of nitrile gloves. It's also one of those face shields for if you're giving a stranger CPR. I carry one of these things with me everywhere. I've got several of them around the place, but having that on the top of the bag is the most emergency thing that I have in this bag. So that's the first thing that I pull out. I just want to take a quick pause from the video to ask you to like and subscribe to this video if you're enjoying this content. I've got a very small channel and you liking this helps the algorithm find me. Okay, back to the content. So over on the right hand side here I have kind of rare emergency type things that I really hope don't happen and that I hope don't need. In the middle here I've got things that I think will happen frequently and mostly use this middle section, and over here are just for cuts, scrapes and bruises, and I will change this out all the time. These are just regular band-aids. So going through it. So let's go from right to left. The first thing I have here is an emergency compression bandage. I really like this because it's in its own pouch, it's in its own bag, it's sterile, and it's really versatile. So if it's a 6-inch hemorrhage control bandage, so if someone has a major accident, if I'm first on the scene of an accident and I need to help somebody with some major bleeding, I'll be really happy to have this, albeit I know I'll probably never use it and be glad to never use it. The only thing in here that is really kind of extreme emergency situation is this tourniquet. Now, if you asked me a couple of years ago, would you carry a tourniquet with you? I'd say absolutely not. I don't know how to use one, nor would I ever need one. But unfortunately, 2 years ago, I was first on the scene of a incident that I don't want to talk about in detail here on YouTube because I'll be demonetized. But it was a life-saving situation, and a police officer arrived to help me as first responder, and he had a tourniquet with him, and it ended up saving that person's life. As a result of that, I've decided that for the price of them and for the size of them, if you're going to create a medical kit like this, it's probably worth having a tourniquet, and I keep that in there for that reason. I'm hopeful I never need to use it again. After that, this is a compression bandage, really like this. These are small. My kids, sprain their ankles and sometimes fall over, hurt their elbows and need a bandage from daddy. So that's what this is for, a bandage that we can use and reuse. Doesn't have to be sterile. This is unused, but having one in there is super helpful. So the next thing in here is just a large adhesive pad, just some gauze to go over a big scrape if you've got a graze on your thigh or something like that. Handy to have that. In addition to that, just a bunch of other things. So a couple of burns, they're called Second Skin's moist burn pads. I really like these because they're small enough, they're nice and cool. We were on a camping trip recently where my daughter burned herself, and I would have loved to have a couple of these. And after that, I actually bought these and said I will always have them with me from now on. A couple of bigger band-aids, and then a couple of steri strips for if you have, they're sterile strips to keep a wound closed if something might need some stitches and you're out and about, if you're camping or you're kind of out of town, you need to get in to get some stitches. Or even for myself, if I cut myself and it's borderline I need a stitch or not, I think sticking one of these on yourself for a day or two to see does it fix itself is super handy. So having those on you are a big plus. So they all go into this pouch here. Just putting it back as I go along. These burn kits go in here. This large adhesive pad goes in the back here. And then they all just fit in. I don't like to overpack these bags. I want them to be useful if I need them. They all go in here. Whoop. And that's what that looks like. So going into my most used area. What I hear, I've got some medication in the front part. So first of all, I've got some Tylenol for kids, for my kids if they're feeling sick, if they get a fever when they're out and about. I'm going to be really happy to have something like that. I've got Tylenol for grown-ups, for hangovers and headaches. I've got ibuprofen for kids, again, so if they get a fever, if they're sick and we're out and about, glad to have that. And so a really small tub of Aquaphor. Now Aquaphor is super versatile as a first aid kit, whether it's chapped lips, a scrape, things like that. Aquaphor is super, so like having that in there. In addition to that, I've got hydrocortisone. Hydrocortisone is a great ointment to bring with you. I've got seborrheic dermatitis, so for if I'm having a flare up, this is a great thing to be able to chill that out. So I just keep that in there as well. Now here's the other tool that I have with me. I bring this little tweezers kit with me. So this is in a commonly used area. This tweezers kit is great for pulling out splinters. There's several different ones in here which I really like. So if it's a case of pulling out splinters, there's a couple of different options, a couple of flat heads and staggered heads. But there's also some for, if you need to be able to pull something out of an ear or out of a nose. I've done it. Having tweezers, a proper tweezers with you all the time is great. I often have a Victorinox with me, like I do today. Today I'm carrying my Classic, and they do have tweezers on them, but these little tweezers are great in a pinch, but nothing like having a proper tweezers for trying to get a, decent splinter out. Again, if you're out and about, it can be the difference between ruining the day or not for your kid. And then inside in there as well, I've gone for some wet ones. These have got the 99.9% germ kill. Great for cleaning hands, great for wiping down. If you do have a cut or a sting, cleaning the area, if you can't go and wash the area, a really good compromise. So putting that away again. And then the final thing is in here, real basic, but I've got some Imodium because it's a good place to put it. Zyrtec, my wife is allergic to almost everything, including me. So having some Zyrtec in there is a good idea. Really frequently used consumables like some of these bigger band-aids, some teeny tiny band-aids for cuts and fingers, and then waterproof band-aids for if we're swimming, if we're at the swimming pool, or if we're out and about and things are wet and they need a band-aid. So like I said, this kit is geared towards, this isn't supposed to be a life-saving kit as such. I do have maybe 2 extreme things in there for extreme situations, but this is the kit for me that will get me through 90% of the situations that happen, with the exception of extreme emergencies. I wanted to create something that would have all the things I would need to keep in the truck with me, all contained in one little bag, and this is that for me. Now, if you couldn't be bothered creating your own kit for your own family, or you want something more extreme and more robust, Rhino Rescue sent me their medical bag, and I'm going to quickly go through at a really high level some things about it. Now, in terms of size, this bag is a little bit bigger. It's a chunky bag, and in it's got some really hardcore stuff. So when I open it out, it's got a multi-tool first of all inside. I'm not going to go into incredible detail on these things, but a nice multi-tool. This multi-tool is an add-on on their website. I saw that it doesn't come necessarily with this kit, but they sent it to me and I keep it inside in it. One of the nice things it has about it as well is it's got a little first aid manual inside on how to use the stuff or how to solve very commonly occurring problems that happen. So in here they do have compression gauze. They do have the same as I have. They call them Israeli bandages. And they have actually almost very similar down here. They have tape, bandages, gauze, compression pads, and lots of other things in here as well, lots of pads. They've got a more commonly used section like I talked about here, where they've got the gloves and the CPR face shield. They've got an eye shield, lots and lots of bandages, soap wipes, etc. And they all come included in there as part of that section. And then in here they have their own cutting scissors. So instead of using the Leatherman, which I have, they have this, which I imagine will work. You know, it's not something you're going to use over and over and over again. It's a little bit flimsy, but I think it would work in an emergency situation, which is what this case is intended for. There's also a Rhino Rescue Sharpie. They also have a tourniquet in here. It's actually smaller than the tourniquet that I use. There is an emergency blanket. There's a nasal airway cleanser. And there's a giant splint in here as well. So if you do have someone who breaks a leg, you can put a splint on their leg. Now, this kit is what I would call more of a serious emergency kit. It's more of a kind of a first responder kit. And I'm going to put this in as part of my earthquake survival, my bug out emergency survival bag. It's not my day-to-day cuts, scrapes, bruises in the back of your truck kit. This is for something more serious, but it is a really good kit. I think for the money, it's well worth it. I'll have a link in the description below. Rhino Rescue did send me this for free. I really like it, and I'd recommend, based on the quality of what I see here, if you're looking for a bag and you don't want to create your own one like I have, here's a good starting point. Okay, so what are some of the things you think I forgot in this video? What would you include in your emergency first aid kit for you and your family? I'd love to hear it. Put some comments in the description below and I'll think about considering it and doing an update on it next year. Good luck.